Yeah, yeah. See, supply shortage. Felicity came back. Felicity. Okay, we'll bow in. Okay, ready? Salute. Okay, ready? Preparation. Okay, deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Try it again. Bob, you want to do it again? Or shoulder? Okay. Okay. Okay, ready? Okay, deep breathing. Okay, go to a straight sword. Okay, ready? Begin. Okay, deep breathing. So Eddie, you want to try it again? Just go up the way you know. And do it the group, yeah. No, it varies. It varies. Yeah. Sometimes it's like this, sometimes it's like this. You know, it depends on, the fingers only when you do the extension, just for stability here. But most of the time, but you should hold it closer to this, when you're using it. Because this actually is shaped to hold for your finger. And then when you're here, you don't want it back here because then you don't have the use of this. Yeah, the broadsword is different because it's got a big round thing here. So. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. How's he doing? No, they don't know. Oh, yeah. Okay. Huh? Yeah, yeah. Not the morning, probably afternoon, yeah. Okay. So you can try it again. And this time we can just kind of go over some of the grips while you're doing it, just see what's happening at that point. Okay, so you want to just go through it slowly and then we'll see what's going on. Okay, begin. Yeah. So right now you should be holding it either one or two fingers like this, right? So then when you bring it across, then you change your grip to a single finger, so it's like this, right? So it's on top. Okay. So we're like this. Then it's here. Then we're here. So there's no finger there. Then we're here. Then we're like this. Then this. Now your finger can go here, along the side here, to just stabilize it. And then next movement, yeah. And then, so you're holding it, well, you don't need your finger there, but you're holding it with your, like this piece on the hilt there. Yeah, so it gives you some, and then, yeah, and then you go to the next move. Then you chop, but you're still holding it the same way, and you cut up. So your finger would slide backwards a little bit, not against the side, just along the side like that. And then next, step up so the finger goes away, and then you poke. Then the grip goes back to the original grip because you're down like this. So you're like this now. Right, so you have your hand like this. You have your hand like this. It's either like this or like this.
So it's not sitting in that little cradle?
No. It's not, no. It's just half of it. You're here. And then you're here. So your fingers across here, right? And then here, it's still there. Press, still there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1. Now the fingers there, straighten it up. Press and thrust. So then your fingers like this. Because you lift up, right? That gives you the support. Then when you press, your fingertip is there. And then, yeah. Because you're putting some leverage on the handle there, yeah. After you poke, lift, press, and then sideways. And yeah, then you turn. Now your finger goes away, it's not there now. Because if you hold your finger there, then you can't actually fold your wrist. So it goes here, and then you poke. And the finger's not there now. It's not, it's just like that. And then goes over the head. And then the finger goes back. Then you chop. Then the finger's gone because you're chopping. No finger, yeah, no finger. And then here, when we slice up, the finger goes back. And then it comes in. And then no finger, it's just a grip. Now fingers on top, fingers underneath, and you no finger, poke, no finger, thrust, fingers there, yeah, fingers there. And yeah, So we're here, right? One, finger, 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 and then no finger. So these transitions have to happen spontaneously, naturally, by how you feel in the hold. We generally don't think about it much because it's just a natural course of how the weapon feels in your hand. So if you're just holding it and just not doing, then the intent of the motion and how it affects the functionality is, it's not like holding a hammer. You hold a hammer, it's the same way all the time because there's one stroke. But if you're stroking this and you're moving in different directions, then the grip changes throughout. But that becomes part of, how that feels to you. So, maybe. Well, that's what happens when that's when you're chopping like this. You would know that if your finger's like this, it doesn't have the same wrist action because your finger's in the way. If you don't have your finger on top here and you're just going like this, then you don't have control of you don't have control. If I want to slap it down, I have to have something to do that. If I'm lifting it, I have to have something there to support it. It all is logic, more than anything else. The design of the handle is really the uniqueness of the whole thing. So who invented the design of the handle realized that your hand had to change grips. So that's from your experience, really. Because everyone's hand is like this, but you can't do certain movements if you know the lunge. If you're like this, or you're thrusting, then and you're lifting, then all of these, it's just. I wasn't pointed all those little things out when I was learning. No teacher teaches like that back in the day. Only because, in fact, my forms were hardly ever corrected. All they teach you is fundamentals. You have to go and do it yourself. It's like musicians, right? Sometimes they tweak you if you're really at a high level, and they help you. But it's really the practitioner that has to get it to happen. The sound of the music really is based on how good that person can recreate it. So this is the same thing. You just get recreated, and everything is experience. The rest of it is experience. But today people learn only if someone holds your hand and take you through, and you think that's really learning. Actually, it's not. It just kind of gives you an idea that it's just information. Today we think of it as intellectual properties, but that's all electronic. Back in the day when people taught, that was their intellectual property. So if they want to teach you, then they would teach you. If they don't want to teach you, they don't teach you. It's just how it used to be. That's the arts. That's why you have some great people, and then you have masses and masses of people that do it, and they don't actually achieve the same way. And that's, if they have the quest and the desire to do that, first you have to have an interest. The second thing you have to have is a teacher. Third thing, you have to have a good student. And then that combination. But it doesn't always work because those three things, doesn't necessarily click. So that's what traditional arts are. That's why even musicians, it's more, you know which musicians are the great ones, and then you know which ones are the ones that kind of are trained by the people. So there's always a second tier and a third tier and a fourth tier of the people that learn. And it's a course of whether people end up excelling or not. Like my teacher taught probably thousands of people, considering from Hong Kong all the way to America. But the thing is, of all the people he taught, how many people stuck with it? How many people did he, But it's not so much favoritism as much as relationships. So old school was all about the relationship, and the relationship has to be good. Otherwise, it's a student. You're a student. That's how it always is. So of all the people that my teacher taught, I'm the only one that actually carried on his tradition. And that's true of all my grandmasters. Lamjo has probably more people, but not so many, really inside students. And then the Yetimon teacher, who actually passed away a couple of years ago, I just found that out because with the pandemic, we didn't really have a lot of communication. So I had emailed the daughter, texted the daughter, and she didn't tell me till recently they had passed away, because she said she didn't want to tell me during the New Year's and all that. So that's the Yetimon teacher. So he passed away, and so of his students, only my teacher actually carried on some of it, and then of Madaksan, he's the only one that carried it on, except for Hansen Ma, who's kind of resurrected it. That's the son of this Grandmaster, the one on the right. He's the Grandmaster of the Yetimon. So it's always kind of a very small, piece of who actually does it, and so that's why it's just the way it is. So when they say the art gets lost, that's what happens. Yeah.
Who is the master who was going to come to our open house and then couldn't because of the pandemic?
Oh, that would have been Hansen Ma. He's the son of Madak-san, because Anthony Lam was here before in 2000. This person on this side. This is Madak-san. He's the Yetimon Grandmaster. Yeah, he brought it back in 2010. Because if he didn't bring it back, essentially it would have been only what I would have taught for Yetimon. But, he expanded on it. And then that's the Honga track, and that's on the left side, that's the Tai Chi teacher that taught my teacher. Yeah. And the person on the upper right is the student of our lineage grandmaster would be Jiang Wing-gong. So he's was a disciple of Wu Chen Chuan, which is the founder of Wu style Tai Chi. The bottom right was his uncle, and then the one in the middle is his Honga teacher, who's a student of the bald guy on top. Yeah. Is the one that on the left, is on the far left. Yeah, the right is his first teacher, which was his teacher in the village when he was little, I guess. Yang Chen Fu? Yang Chen Fu is Yang style, yeah.
Yeah, but were they at the same age or?
Yang Chen Fu is probably older, but he's more like in the Lum Sai Wing era. Even before that, yeah. But it wasn't, China's big, so it's, they're not in the same area. Do I have it written down? I think there's some history. No, there is some history there, but we actually did a tree. We did a tree. I'm not sure if that's on the website, but we did do that, But it's in, it did branch down. I don't know if we did separate ones or yeah. So that would have been, like I said, their like what they like the computer companies or these, it's all intellectual properties. So the intellectual properties are, the way it is in this competitive world, they don't want intellectual properties to be shared. Like you go to a company and you have proprietary stuff. You have to sign all these docs and say, you can't share this because And the reason why they don't want it, because people, all they need is an inkling of an idea, and then it takes off. And you can lose, your concept. That's why there's copyrights and all that stuff, But you can't protect it really, because even the legal stuff, they just change a little bit and it changes. So something like this is very hard to, you can't really patent it, because it's already been done and too many people do it. Although the Tai Chi paradigm is registered as a trademark for teaching this, but you can't trademark the Tai Chi itself. But Tai Chi paradigm is a trademark for a teaching method. Not really. No, it's too out there, and too many people do it that you can't really say that that's your, you can't really do that. So Kung Fu is a generic term too. Then when it comes to stylistic things, you can't really patent the form, but because so many people do it. But they're variants of it. But the people that practice it know who actually learned from who. So that's why it's a little bit, less, I guess, protection. You don't need to. So we do our Hongga a little bit different from some of the other Hongga people, but that's mainly because we abide by the structures and the sort of deductive knowledge beyond sequence. So that's where a lot of people fall by the wayside, because they don't know that stuff.
I started learning the rules with Sharon, and she does it so slow. It takes like 40 or 50 minutes to go through.
Yeah.
It takes forever.
Well, there's different schools of thought on how and why they would do it. So if you're doing it just for health reasons and they do it really slowly, some of it is because their teacher said this, this is the way you should do it. But they don't really focus on the structure, or they don't focus on the reason for the integrity of the position. As a martial art, it's not practical when you're just doing it as a meditative exercise. So when Tai Chi first came to America, no one knew what it was. So it evolved from what people saw. And what you see is really what you think it is. And it's just a slow motion thing that it becomes a meditative exercise. So meditation, which is discipline in many things, and I know you do that. It's in all the disciplines in the ancient time, whether it's yoga or so some people that create a style of meditation just captured the essence of something, and then they develop. So the modern yoga is the same way. The traditional yoga is different. So modern today would be wushu. So wushu doesn't get beyond athleticism. So they call them, instead of calling them sifus, they would call them coaches. But you can learn from anywhere, and it would be a standardized. But then today, the new coaches, in order to stay, because originally in wushu there's only two forms. It was the northern chuan and southern would be those two forms for competition. But outside of that, those forms are derived from the traditional. So Nanchuan, which is the southern fist, is actually, most of it's derived from Hongga. And if you go into Changchuan, most of it is derived from the northern Shaolin, which is really, the kicking form. So other than that, that's because after the Cultural Revolution, that's all they wanted to retain. That's it. Then the modern stuff picked up as a competition. They wanted to get into all these. So they, retrained a lot of the way they teach it, and it's become more of like a cross between gymnastics, figure skating, and the rest, that's involved in Olympic type sport. Because if you notice in wushu, a lot of the stuff is flexibility, posturing, and a lot of running. Well, you're not on ice, so you have to just run to create the momentum to do these movements. And then the rest of it is, just the skill and execution, the timing, all that stuff, and high execution requires tremendous flexibility. They do these tornado kicks and then they land in splits. So so most of the people that do that kind of competition, by the time they're 25 or 30, they're already done. They usually do it in the universities, and if you were really talented, maybe you would try to make a career teaching it. But then, they have coaches already. Thousands and thousands of wushu practitioners, and modern taiji is the same thing. All those forms have been remastered, recreated as a standard. So this is actually more of a traditional form.
Dong and dang. I think there's a movement in swing.
In swing, swing.
Dong and dang. I thought D-O-N-G and
D- Dang, wu, dang, swing. What means swing dancing?
No, in Tai Chi to create, like when you move from posture to posture,
Oh.
that motion makes you swing into that motion.
Oh, you mean with the sword, or you mean a regular form?
Any with regular forms.
Dang, dong.
I thought that was Chinese, maybe not. I saw some physicists trying to figure out how the movements in Tai Chi, and he had this stick, and he would move, and the thing would move like this.
You're talking about a pendulum. Well, that's what you're doing when you swing your leg, right? Right. Your hip is like that. What you're talking about. So the physicist that's probably thinking of there's no resistance, and that your strength is using gravity as a motion to create motion. But the difference between that and the human movement is that your skeletal structure can create structures. And those structures are what you have to swing in the air so that it doesn't, it's not just random. It's not like a tick, not like a clock that just does that. The structure is the arm of that and the weight on the bottom, and just swings in it. But it has no transition other than right to left, and it's balanced by momentum. So your body can move the same way if you can relax your joints. But because it's multi-dimensional movement and it's tremendous amounts of space that you have to deal with, it's much more complicated. So, but the idea of using gravity is what he probably was talking about. Yeah. You're talking about song. Song is to release or relax. Huh? Song is the whole body. Chin is the sink. Chin is the sink, release, and Fong Song is the let go. Let go, release, relax. They're all the same. But in yeah. Well, you had a question?
Yes, Sifu, could we undo the part of the form that goes, the one with the side jabs after
In the beginning? Yeah, so that movement that you did is not controlled. You're just swinging it. So control that movement. Let's see what the next movement is before we review. Yeah. So you see what she did, right? You said control the movement. So if you're out of position, you already can't use gravity, right? Because gravity only hangs vertical. So if I'm doing this, regardless if it's all the way up there, if you're doing this when it's on the swing, something made it not stay vertical, you see. So when you did that, the vertical line is here. It's not here. That's where there's where the tension in the movement is. But if your body doesn't recognize that there's tension and it's not naturally swinging up, then that's what you have to discover. See. So when the hand swings, if it's swinging correctly, it's doing that. So when I talk about, not injuring your shoulder and all that stuff, it's because the body's in the wrong position. If you want your leg to swing here, your body has to be in the right position. If you're over here and you're swinging like this, that's what's going to happen. So you have to understand from your own experience why those things are creating off balance. So that comes from understanding. So skill is really understanding. So people that practice, like musicians, they practice so much till they develop their technique of how that sound is created. And that's the struggle that we all have doing this. So if we're here, and then we're here, and then we're here. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. So we're here. 1, 2, 3, then we're here. Then it turns like this. But you see, where the sword is, it's on my center. But your sword's facing the wrong way. And then you turn. And then you change your grip, and then you poke up. Now, actually, this is one of the pokes that you can actually hold like this. It's when you're here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So this is where you hold it like this. Felicity, you asked if that should be cupped in there, so you should sit in it like this. Yeah. You change your grip and poke up, then you turn to here, you change your grip, and then you poke here. And then you're here, then you change it to that. Yeah. You're here. Yeah. So in here you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So changing of the grip, if you have too much grip in your hand, too stiff or tense, it can't manipulate. So that comes from just understanding that you change your grip, so your hand is like this when you're holding the sword. That's why this shape is like this. Well, you're here, and then you come back to here, then you change your hand, then you change your hand, and then you're here. Yeah. You have to stabilize the position. That's all of this stuff has to do with how relaxed you are when you go into these positions. Now we're talking about it, you're not going to be relaxed because you're thinking about, well, my hand is doing this, and then you start to fumble. So all of this has to become a part of the course of your practice, that all these things happen. And, and like I said, I wasn't taught these things. These things happen over a course of time from doing it and not understanding. So then you discover, well, this is why this handle is like this. There's some basic fundamentals. You have it like this, or you have it like this. You have it as, as a basic thing. But when you go through it, you have to make those changes. It's like, if you're playing a guitar, you have to figure out which finger's being used when you're doing it, and you have to change, and how much pressure and all the stuff that goes with that. And then, then you just have to play around with that until it happens. So everything that we do is actually that process. So this is a little bit trickier than you do the sword or the spear. All of those are different, manipulations of your of your hand and the rest of your body. So it's a long process. It just doesn't happen overnight. Reasoning for that is because we have a lot of, habits as one thing that can resist your movement. Then the other thing is the learning curve. It has to kind of go through the process of learning, and then at the same time, if there are conflicts from previous, disciplines, it might be different. My niece's husband was a really good tennis player, but he's also a really good golf player. But the thing is, he had to decide which one he wanted to play because they conflict with each other. And it doesn't conflict on a lower level. On the higher level it does. That's why someone like, Michael Jordan couldn't play baseball. Or, you just can't play a sport that it's not conducive to what you really have trained your body to do. So it's just, the nature of the beast. Well, this is when he was younger, because he's Michael Jordan's a basketball player. Michael Jordan, he's a basketball player.
No, your nephew.
Oh, he chose golf.
He chose golf.
Yeah. No, because as you get older, you don't have the same competitive level with the tennis. And then tennis, you need a partner, or you get involved. So golf was something he really got into. But he was always, and that it's more expensive. It was more of an elite sport, and became something that people in finance did a lot because they made deals on the course. So he was a finance guy. So, but he was good because he had a lot of course time and lessons probably, and So anyways, okay, we'll bow.
I'm trying to watch the video, but I can't tell which direction. It's hard to pick it up off the video.
Yeah, well, because that's really for sequence of you. I never really taught much of it when I was streaming, because by the time we got into that,
He's out of sight. I watch Eddie, and he's really good. And all of a sudden, he makes a move, and he's out of the camera.
yeah. So over here, when I was doing the pandemic thing, we reopened the school, so that's why I stopped doing a lot of those.
So I got a show that you did in 2014, so I watched that.
So Corinne, next week they're doing April 19th. Oh, 3 weeks.
Got another week, and then I think that week I'll probably miss.
Yeah,
It's the procedure's on a Tuesday,
yeah.
then the follow-up is Wednesday, and then, but then they say
No bending, right? Yeah, Yeah.
aerobic.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, so I figure I'm out for a month.
Yeah, yeah.
Each eye.
Yeah. It's different with Tai Chi though. Some people that had it done, they came back. I think, but no bending. You don't want the blood going.
I think by the end of the week, maybe Saturday,
Yeah,
I'm not sure about Thursday, maybe Saturday, I can get up and do a Tai Chi, but not the weapons and all.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, you want to text them?
Who's that?
Do you have any more of the
Car magnets?
the scholarship
Magnets?
whole bent out of
I think we had a few of them left. I don't know where they are. Let's see. Yeah,
Were they $5?
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, I do, yes. It was, hold on, I was gonna order it. It changed for 20?
Forget it. Just,
I'll bring you
yeah,
a five.
yeah, no,
I'll get some.
you already donate too much to the scholarship. You should wear it with pride. Oh, we don't have doors, so it doesn't matter.